Good evening. Welcome to the 2013 Kill Devil Hills Commissioners Candidates Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dare County. The League is a nonprofit political organization. It encourages informed and active participation in government. It works to increase understanding of major public policy and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League maintains a nonpartisan policy. It neither endorses nor opposes any political party or candidate. My name is Drew Ferentz. I am a member of the League and a past co-president of the Dare County League of Women Voters. And I'm going to serve as your moderator this evening, if my voice holds up. The League members helping me tonight are Mary Ellen Hawthorne. Mary Ellen is in the back of the door. She organized this forum this evening. Reviewing our questions here at the table are Dr. Lynn Logan. Dr. Logan is the co-president of the League of Women Voters currently, and she is a resident of Dare County, outside of any municipality. Kay White, also reviewing questions, is a resident of Nags Head. Our timekeeper is Pat Hayward, a resident of Southern Shores. Gathering questions from the audience will be Laurie DiBernardo, who also is a resident of Southern Shores. Our candidates present tonight are Sheila Davies, candidate for mayor, unopposed. Our candidates for the Board of Commissioners are Travis Appleman, Beverly Boswell, and Michael Midget. Let's talk about the format for this evening. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an introductory speech. The timekeeper will signal. Pat, can you show them your signal? When the candidate has 30 seconds remaining. If you go past your allotted time, Pat will stand to call attention. She'll just wave it higher. After we have our introductions, each candidate will respond to questions from the audience. Voters are asked to submit written questions, legibly signed, with your full name and your town of residence. League members will review the questions for subject matter, for clarity and relevance, and to avoid any repetition. We believe this procedure will afford the greatest variety of subjects to be covered. The signers will be asked to step to the podium. You'll read your question as it is written, please, with no additional comments. The questioner will then be seated. You'll hand me your card, and you'll take your seat. The League advocates positive campaign practices. I can't stress this enough. We reserve the right to omit any question that is viewed as a personal attack or unrelated to campaign issues. Questions can be addressed to a specific candidate or to all candidates or to any group of candidates. Again, the timer will signal at 2 minutes. You'll have 2 minutes to answer questions. Opportunities will not be given for a second chance. So if you pass on a question, I won't be coming back to you to answer that particular question, even if you raise your hand. Finally, after we've had all of the questions, you'll have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Now, earlier tonight, we drew numbers. I told the candidates they were going back to first grade. We were going to take turns nicely. So we're going to hear our opening statements in the order that they were drawn. And then when we have our closing statements, what we'll do is just do the reverse order. So first we're going to hear from Travis Appleman, and then Beverly Boswell, and Michael Midget. We thought it was interesting the way it goes right down the line. And last we'll hear from Mayor Sheila Davies. Let's begin.
Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum and for everyone in the audience tonight for coming out. My name is Travis Appleman, and I am running for the Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners. My family and I have lived in Kill Devil Hills for over 6 years, and we are proud to call this our town. I have 2 children at First Flight High School who are active in swim, track, and band. As a commissioner, I will ensure Kill Devil Hills remains a wonderful place to call home. I started my professional career with IBM in 1993 with a focus on personnel and project management. I specialized in working with large-scale software and hardware development projects and coordinating resources from worldwide locations. The act of creating large-scale project plans with varying goals taught me the value of collecting feedback from many sources and then developing a solution which could be successfully implemented. I left IBM in May of 2010 to focus on a lifelong dream of owning an automotive small business. My wife Katie and I currently own and operate Coastal Fast Lube and Tire Center here in Kill Devil Hills. In the past few years, I've become involved in the town meetings and feel there is an opportunity for a small business owner to be on the board. I want the local economy to thrive while preserving our small beach town atmosphere for future generations. I actively support local fundraising activities personally and through our business. These include Dare County Relay for Life, various First Flight High School fundraisers, First Flight Cruisers, the Outer Banks Food Pantry, as well as sponsoring the previous and the upcoming Oink and Oyster Roast for the First Flight Rotary Club. As a fiscal conservative, I will ensure we are actively managing our town's budget so we are as efficient as possible and utilizing our funds in the best manner. Economic development will be important to all of us so we can work to diversify our tax base. In the near term, our area is looking at additional taxes and higher flood and homeowners insurance rates. Our local economy is dependent on tourism, and we need to focus on remaining a popular destination. Tourism is what creates the majority of the employment opportunities in our area. If we increase our business sales and our occupancy revenue, we can utilize these funds to reduce the possible increase to citizenry taxes. As business demand and occupancy revenues increase, we will also see additional employment opportunities become available. Thank you again for coming out tonight, and I look forward to having the opportunity to serve the town of Kill Devil Hills as commissioner.
Ms. Boswell. Thank you. First of all, I too would like to thank you for putting this forum on so we can meet and greet all of our neighbors. My name is Beverly Boswell, and I am running for Kill Devil Hills Commissioner. I want to start off by letting you know I've been here for 10 years, and for 6 of those 10 years I've been a volunteer for the town of Kill Devil Hills. I have been on the Streets Improvement Team. I'm a current member of the Planning Board. I'm a current member of the Historical Landmark Commission. I also have been the past president of the PTSA at First Flight High School for 3 years. I am now and have been on the School Improvement Team. I'm the co-chair as of this moment. I am a member of the Republican Party of Dare, the Tea Party of Dare, and I believe in community service. I've kept my pulse on the town. I know the employees. I am friends. This is our family and home. I support everyone and always have been, and I have successfully raised monies as well for the schools and for the churches and other various organizations. I too know and I want to adhere to any budget restraints that we have. I do not want to go deep in debt. I want to keep Kill Devil Hills as free of debt as possible. And I think that together we can all keep this a safe and happy environment. Thank you.
Mr. Midget.
Good evening. I'm Michael Midget, and I'm a candidate for Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners. I'm 35. I was born here and have lived in Kill Devil Hills the majority of my life. I'm running for the Board of Commissioners because I want to take an active role in my local government, and I want to see Kill Devil Hills grow and prosper. I perceive Kill Devil Hills' biggest challenges are spending and the debt associated with it. We must be good stewards of our taxpayers' dollars, not only local tax dollars, but grant money as well. Sometimes city and towns, when they receive grants, will boast that it did not cost local taxpayers a dime, yet they fail to realize this only adds to our national debt, which is rapidly approaching $17 trillion. We need to focus our spending on essential town functions only. Beach nourishment and stabilization is most likely the most talked about issue in Kill Devil Hills is facing. We are not the first community to face the problem of erosion, and thanks to the internet and social media, it will be easier for our community to determine which combination of methods work the best from all over the world and see they are implemented. I also want to ensure that every vote I cast as a board member is constitutional, well-informed, and to the benefit of Kittleville Hills as a whole. I'm not one to rubber stamp approval of every proposal this board will see without debate or information. I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Dare County for hosting this event to allow the citizens of Kittleville Hills to be informed about their candidates. Thank you once again. My name is Michael Midget, and I humbly ask for your vote this November.
Thank you. Now Mayor Davies.
Great. Good evening. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for organizing this forum and for the audience for your attendance and participation. I am Sheila Davies, and I am seeking re-election for mayor. 2 years ago, I campaigned for mayor on a platform for an open government, improved citizen engagement, and bringing together residents and business owners to form a coherent vision for our town's future. Over the past 2 years, the members of the Board of Commissioners and I have worked hard on fulfilling campaign promises and moving our town forward. We have implemented several items to help make government more accessible for our residents, property owners, and business owners by televising meetings, ensuring past meetings are available on YouTube and through the local library, and recording the Spotlight on Kittleville Hills segment, which highlights key points taken at each commissioner's meeting. We added an additional response to public comment, as well as added a second public forum meeting each year to provide more opportunities for citizens and others to share their comments and suggestions directly with the board. We established 2 new town committees, providing 16 residents and business owners an opportunity to share input and direction on items such as the future of the bomb track site and ways to enhance the overall appearance of our town. I have worked successfully with the board over the past 2 years to foster a more open and interactive government. Additionally, I have worked with the board and staff to help reduce cost where appropriate. For example, a change in legal contract services has saved the town tens of thousands of dollars a year each year for the past 2 years. While I am pleased with some of the progress we have made, I recognize that there is more to be done. We have a number of key issues confronting our town, from beach nourishment to pedestrian and cyclist safety to creating a viable capital improvement plan. For these reasons and an overall commitment to serve, I am seeking re-election. While I've had the opportunity to meet and interact with a number of citizens and business owners over the past 2 years, I know there are people who may not know me. I am a professional and capable leader who understands the value of working with people to solve problems. I have a master's degree in public administration and am months away from earning my PhD in public policy and administration. I have over 20 years of experience in the nonprofit, government, and business sectors. As with anyone in public service, the opportunity to serve requires the support of others. I am blessed with support from my husband, Daryl, and our 2 young sons, Wyatt and Chase. Our family is proud to call Kittleville Hills our home, and I am truly grateful to live and serve in such a wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of housekeeping items for me to bring up. I've learned that this microphone is inoperable this evening. It's working now. Okay. I don't have to scream, and neither do you. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand, and one of our league members will bring you a card. You'll write your question, and she will come and pick it up again. So let's keep those questions coming. Our first question is going to be from Howard Kimball, and if Howard would come to the podium and read his question. And it's working.
Oh, the short one. Okay, my question is for the people that's running for commissioner. So Sheila, you're out of this one. Why do you want to become a commissioner? Short and sweet.
Thank you. Let's start first with Michael Midget.
Yes, well, as I said, I would like to take an active role in my local government. I was a delegate for the GOP party for the past 2 years. I got to travel around North Carolina, and I kind of like how we do things, and I'd like to contribute a little bit more. And that's all.
Mr. Appelman.
After being a part of the meetings for the past few years, it's definitely something that I've become a lot more interested in than I ever thought I probably would. I like the idea of being able to serve the town and being able to maintain the current quality of life that we have in Kill Devil Hills.
And Ms. Boswell.
I believe that each and every citizen is responsible and should contribute to the town that they live in, and I take that seriously. I do believe that I have the skills that they need to make sure, and I keep in touch with the regular people that are out here every day through the schools and throughout the town and through my job as a beach medical assistant. So I want to keep my finger on it, keep the improvements on our wonderful town because we have so much to offer.
Thank you. Our next question is going to come from Bill Pitt. And then following Mr. Pitt will be Jack McCombs.
These are for the commissioner candidates. What is, in your view, the most important measure of municipal government effectiveness?
Thank you. Ms. Boswell, would you like to take that one first?
Could you repeat it just one more time?
Sure. What is the most important measure of municipal government effectiveness?
I believe keeping within your budget. I think you have to keep within your budget and grow and keep your town out of debt. In case of the economy failing as it has lately, and it hopefully will be going up from now, it's very important that we stay within our means.
And Mr. Midget?
I completely agree. We need to stay within our budget. We need to ensure that the town continues to grow and prosper and take care of its citizens.
And Mr. Appleman?
I think an effective government is one that actively listens to the citizens in that town. Being able to take an active role in listening, then you understand that the issue might change year to year on what you're focusing on. And to be able to be a dynamic leader, then you can react to that and make the appropriate changes at that time.
Okay. Our third question will come from Jack McCombs. And following him will be Howard Kimball again. Yes, I would like you to.
Jack McCombs, I'm a resident of Kill Devil Hills, have been since 1997. This question is for the commissioner candidates because Sheila's position on this is well known. Please state your position on beach nourishment and provide your rationale for that position regardless whether you are pro or con.
Question. Thank you. Mr. Appleman, would you like to go first?
All right. I support beach nourishment. I think being able to have the towns proactively take an active role in preserving one of our main assets is something that we should all strive to do. Being able to maintain what is our current main attraction is going to help preserve that for future generations. We're seeing other areas in the country, and even some that are a little closer to home than we'd like to think, where the beach is actively moving away from the shore. And if you talk to some folks who have been here for a while, it's really quite disturbing to understand how wide the beach used to be in the 50s and 60s. And if we don't start taking an active role now, then we may be in the same situation that some of our neighboring towns are in. Our biggest concern, obviously, would be in this tough economic climate on how to actively pay for that. And that's something that, as some of these studies go on, that will certainly be taken into consideration.
Thank you. Ms. Boswell?
Our beaches are one of our greatest assets, and we do have to take care of her. She provides us lots of monies for the town. At this current time, I cannot figure out a way to pay for beach nourishment without going up in our taxes. We're having a lot of financial difficulties right now. We had our wind and hail go up, our flood go up, our utilities raised this year. Also had our gas taxes go up. The only thing that hasn't gone up is our paychecks. I just don't think we can afford to increase our taxes for beach nourishment at this time. We shouldn't forgo it. We should still keep it going and trying to get grants and any other monies available. But right now, I just don't think we can afford it without raising taxes.
Thank you. Mr. Midget?
I support beach nourishment, and I support it because I feel that it's necessary to preserve our main attraction for tourists. And without the tourists, there won't be, money in our economy. And I just think it's just very important to protect our beach at all costs. I don't think we should go into debt over it, but, we got to do something about it.
Thank you. Mr. Kimball?
Okay. Do you support installing sidewalks on 158 like they did down in Nags Head? And if yes, if you do support it, would you be willing to fund it with a tax increase if necessary?
Thank you. Mr. Midget?
Yes, I also support sidewalks on the side of 158. I don't necessarily think we need 10-foot sidewalks, but, we need something. I mean, there's no reason for us to walk knee-deep in grass down the street. How to fund this? I don't know. There's really not any incentive for other departments to save money, so maybe we need to, check their budget and see if we can find ways for them to save money in order to pay for other projects like sidewalks and beach nourishment.
Ms. Boswell?
I would love to see sidewalks in the town. What a wonderful way for the towns to stay connected. Safety for our citizens is always a great concern. Sidewalks would not only encourage exercise, but would encourage a lovely walk through the town and an easy access to the town's restaurants and businesses. Sidewalks would certainly help our parking dilemmas during the summer season. The state of North Carolina has some funding for the school safety route, and I also ask that the town apply for additional grants and fundings for other sources, such as the Board of Tourism.
And Mr. Appleman?
I too support sidewalks. I think the challenge is where to start and how to pay for them. And I know that's something that the town has been struggling with for a while. We currently have a sidewalk plan that's been created so we know where all the sidewalks currently exist and where the gaps are. And I think over the upcoming months, we're going to have the opportunity to potentially get the costs for whether we're doing a 5-foot or a 10-foot wide, which side or both sides, and truly get an idea of how much funds are really going to be necessary. I think it's going to be very difficult to increase taxes for beach nourishment and sidewalks. But the idea of maintaining a fund for capital improvements is something that we need to do. And there's obviously the struggle then is where does that money come from? So this is definitely one of those situations where we need as much public input as we can possibly get. And I think over the next few months, we should actively try to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Midget? Oh, you answered that one already, didn't you?
That was Appleman.
Mr. Kimball is going to have our next question.
I thought that was covered.
Well, this one is, oh, that's right, you are. Bill Pitt.
Because the deal-
We have so few questions. How do I get them mixed up? We actually are down to 2 questions, so
We're almost at the end. For the commissioner candidates, how do you feel about the current shared revenue formulas that are used to apportion shared revenues amongst our various municipalities and between the municipalities and the county?
okay, Now let's start with Mr. Midget. How's that?
I don't really know much about the shared revenue, but I think it would be better if our town was separate from the other towns. That way, they need to raise their taxes. It's not going to affect us. I don't really know much about this subject.
Okay, Mr. Appleman.
I currently do not agree with the shared revenue plan that is in place between the towns and Dare County. I think it encourages and promotes the wrong behavior. For you to get your fair share of the taxes, you need to be the one that's raising your taxes in your town. Unless there's a specific need for those taxes, I don't necessarily feel that you should just raise the tax. We're looking at, I think, an uphill battle to potentially get the shared revenue formula changed. It would be nice if we could base it on something other than tax rates, like population or potential capital improvements. It'd be nice if some of that money went to something like sidewalks or other improvements that we could do. But to have it just be based on each municipality's tax rate, I think is something outdated. But I don't think the other towns are going to agree if we propose population, since we're the largest area. And they might not agree with total revenue, since, again, we're one of the larger municipalities. I think it's something that we should actively work with Dare County to see how we can come to an updated solution for this.
Thank you. And Ms. Boswell.
I happen to agree with Travis. I had a lovely talk with our financial advisor here, Beverly, and she and I talked quite at length about this. And yes, it would be great if they did base it on population instead of the higher taxes increase, because we have lost monies a little. And I think between all of us, we put our heads together, we can think of a fair and equitable way to distribute the tax money.
Thank you. I'm happy to report we do have additional questions. So the pressure's off. But if you do think of a question, raise your hand. We still have cards. The next question will be from Jack McComb.
Bless you.
Is this for all?
I just noticed that a former mayor is here. I'm sorry I didn't notice you before. This question is for all four candidates. The topic is cycling. That's a bicycle in the Outer Banks. For each candidate, if you are elected, what will be your position supporting cycling in Kill Devil Hills and the Outer Banks? If pro, that means you're for cycling. What specific measures would you support and advocate? If con, explain why you're opposed to cycling.
Is this for all candidates? Okay.
Yes.
For all candidates. Why don't we start with Ms. Davies?
Okay, certainly. I am absolutely pro-cycling. And Jack, I think to answer your question, some of the biggest things that we need to do to support cycling and show that is awareness and education. I think a lot of the issues with cycling safety really come from people not understanding cycling. And I don't know how many times I'm behind people on the bypass and they're showing how irritated they are with a cyclist riding down the side of the road. I think they don't realize that the law is you have to share the road and that cyclists have a right to be there. So I think part of it is there's a lot more education that we can do, and that's education of our guests, but also our locals. They're a big part of the problem with not understanding the laws and then also how to share the road appropriately. I also would love to see, we have a great area to host different events and we have the triathlon and we have the marathon, and I would love, and probably near and dear to your heart, I would love to see a huge cycling event down here. It was back in 2004. There was a study, I don't know if it was done by NCDOT, but there was a group that did a study that talked about a huge economic impact of cycling on the Outer Banks. And I don't think we're really tapping into and actualizing that until we have a big event like that to draw more people. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Appleman.
All right. I am for cycling. And over the last few years, I've heard a lot of your comments at public comment in the Board of Commissioners meetings. One of the things that I think it's an important piece of our tourism industry. You've mentioned some of the revenue numbers and things that have come in as a direct result of cyclists coming into vacation here. I think our responsibility then is how to have a place that is welcoming to those cyclists, and how do we have them remain safe. It gets back to some of the sidewalks, some of the multimodal paths, and in some of the cases the lower speed limit on the bypass in our busiest area out here. I know there's been initiatives to provide additional education, and there were some public safety announcements that have gone out on some of the local cable channels. I think that level of awareness and that level of involvement from the town is something that's important, and it will help drive our guests and our locals alike to be more cognizant of the fact that they need to share the road.
Thank you, Ms. Boswell.
I too am pro-cyclist. I recently wrote a letter to the editor about a very disturbing experience I had where I was at the crosswalk and it was safe for me to cycle across, but the motorist turning right on red wasn't looking for cyclists. They were only looking for vehicles, and I and my friend almost got run over. And this happened multiple times, unfortunately. So I have to agree with Sheila. It's all about education, sharing the road, keeping it safe for everyone, not just the motorists, but for the cyclists and the pedestrians alike. I would love to see the large sidewalks that could be used as a multi-use path like on Bay Drive. Once again, that brings us into the money situation. So I am a huge advocate. Thank you.
And Mr. Midget.
Yes, I support cycling, but you know, it would be great if they had their own area to ride. You know, we share the road where we can, but you know, if they have their own place to ride, they might ride there and not on 158. But you know, as it is, there's not much space for them to ride, so we kind of have to share the road.
Thank you. The next question is going to come from Sue Kelly. And following that will be Sherry Rollison. And I believe this question is going to be for everyone.
Yes. Please name one thing that you believe is especially attractive about our town, one thing that you think is unattractive about our town, and also any other suggestions you have for improving the appearance of Kill Devil Hills.
Thank you. You can see. Thank you. Let's start with Ms. Boswell.
Well, I'm a history nerd, so I'm going to automatically say the Wright Memorial. It's a wonderful tourism spot and education spot as well for everyone, not just for North Carolina, for everyone to come and visit. It's very well, unfortunately, it was closed today, and hopefully it'll be open soon. But I think our biggest, and I hate to be beating the same drum, our biggest and major thing we need to work on is the sidewalks, because it is not looking good out on the highway. We don't have that connectivity that we need with the sidewalks and with the upkeep of the highway, and I know NCDOT is liable for that as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Midget.
you.
Was this just Kittle Hills or all of Dare County?
Kill Devil Hills.
Just Kill Devil Hills. Okay. Well, I also really appreciate the Wright Brothers Monument. It's just a majestic site. You know, it was built a long time ago. It's still standing. And something I really don't like about Kill Devil Hills is all the telephone poles.
Yeah.
Do we need them all? Really? I mean, you have the large, giant concrete ones. Can't we do something there?
Mr. Appleman.
I'll be a little different. One of the things that brought me here was the beach, and I think that remains one of my favorite spots to be. And I don't really care what time of day it is. I'd prefer it to not be raining at the time. One of the things that, both on the beach and off the beach, that is really bothering me lately has been litter. And you know, it's very disturbing to me to be behind folks when they're driving down the road, and sometimes even folks that are walking and they're throwing trash on the ground or throwing trash out their window. One of the things that I think we could improve in that area would be to do something like an adopt a highway. It could be sections of the beach road, it could be sections between the highways, it could be on the bypass itself. And it happens in other areas that I've lived and that we travel to, where, you know, companies or groups or sometimes even high schools have adopted a section of highway, and they devote some of their time to making sure that that's cleaned up and looking presentable for everyone. So.
Thank you. And Mayor Davies.
Thank you. So, Sue, forgive me, I might not answer exactly the question you asked, but I'm just going to take a little bit of liberty here. But first off, you mentioned, I did want to answer this. You mentioned what's one of the most attractive things about our town. And actually, I think one of the most attractive things about our town are the people. I think we are so blessed with, just the range from generations of, older folks that bring so much wealth and talent and knowledge to families having babies. And to me, that's what just makes KDH special, are the people. But what's interesting when you go to what's not attractive in our town, and I think it's appropriate if you don't know, Sue heads up our recently formed Community Appearance Commission. And of the items that you all named, all of these have been on the agenda for this committee to address over the past 6 months. And we've made some headway. In fact, we are planning a trash attack for the spring. We're partnering with the Surfrider Foundation with some of their efforts for not only the Adopt a Beach program, but we are also working with NCDOT on the Adopt a Highway program. And so we will be looking pretty soon for additional folks to help sponsor segments. We have looked at extensively what's going on with all the poles, because that is really unattractive. Unfortunately, that's just such a costly endeavor and is also a little beyond what we can just do here at Kill Devil Hills. But I think everything that you guys named is on the radar and would be on everyone's list. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is Sherry Rollison.
This is for the commissioners. Do you support adding new improvements? I can't even read my writing. Improvements to the shoreline accesses, the sound as well as the ocean. And are you aware that in the budget that there is an item there that is for shoreline, that no money's been put into that one for a number of years and what have you? And would you be, this is kind of a two-part question, and would you be willing to look at that to start adding money there for future?
Is that for all the candidates?
That's for all the commissioner candidates.
All the commissioners. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Appleman, would you like to take that first?
Can I ask a clarification? Is it specific to our beach accesses?
Sound or ocean.
Sound or ocean, okay. I like the idea of being able to have some improvements. In fact, some of the areas we pick, which access we go to sometimes, depending on which features or amenities that being able to have nice parking and to be able to have a trash receptacle and recycling bins at the entrances. There's been some that have had some interesting wood degradation over the years with some of the walkways and the steps, and I would love to see some of those be improved. We get back to how do we fund some of these things. I think there's always going to be compromise with any type of capital improvement. That is certainly something that I would be willing to consider. How much money and those types of things, obviously, as we could get into that and get an idea, maybe have staff do a study on specific requests or complaints that have come in about certain accesses, that might help us steer us in the right direction.
Thank you. Mr. Midget?
No, I'm not aware that they haven't gotten any money, but I do think they need to be upkept, and it's, if the money is supposed to be shared, then it needs to be shared. That's just the way it is. I mean, you can't have someone hog all the money. That's just not, that's not right.
And Ms. Boswell?
I too have to confess that I choose my beach accesses for the convenience and the parking and the bathhouse or like you said, the receptacles. I think there should be some monies going into that pot because with all the beach nourishment talk, I mean, that falls right into it. So I think we need to fund these and keep our sidewalks and our walkways and our garbage cans all in good service.
Thank you. And since this was for all candidates, Mayor Davies?
Sure. I think the matter of not funding this over the past few years has just been like anything else. There's been there has been extra money left over to fund several of the accounts that were originally designated, this being one of them. Hopefully things are starting to trend a little bit differently now, and I think it's a time for us to reevaluate. I think this new budget cycle is going to be really interesting. Also, as we get more into our beach nourishment discussions and look at what's the potential of the shared revenue benefit from a tax levy associated with beach nourishment, there could be the possibility of using those funds to do significant improvements that are needed. We are scheduling a November capital improvement workshop. I encourage you, as many of you who are available, to come to that. We'll be announcing the date at the October 14th meeting. But it will be a challenge to take all of these things that we would like to do and prioritize those for a capital funding plan. But it's essential that we develop a plan that then, whether it's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, that we can start working towards achieving some of these necessary improvements in our town. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Colleen Almany, sorry. I know. That's why I called you Colleen. I'm sorry.
This question is for everyone. What ideas do you have to increase public participation in the town, specifically in town meetings?
Okay. Let's have Mayor Davies take this one first.
Okay. Well, Colleen, that's a great question. I hadn't thought of the question, so I don't have an answer already prepared to that. Well, part of it I can tell you. What we have tried to do overall to increase participation, as I mentioned in my opening statement, we did add 2 new committees. We engaged about 16 members who were not already participating, most of them in activities or in town committees. We also tried to make it easier for people to follow what's happening in the town through televising the meetings, showing them on YouTube, having the spotlight segments where they can see, maybe they don't have time to sit and watch a whole meeting, but they can find out what key points were discussed and then go find that section of the meeting. As far as actually getting people to a meeting, that's what I really haven't come up with a great strategy. Maybe we need to do, door prizes and drawings. I really don't have a great strategy yet. Though I was thinking, I had a 2.5-hour drive from Greenville this afternoon, and I was thinking, had I won that 50-50 last night, I was thinking I was going to put like a $5 bill at all the seats, and maybe that would have generated some increased attendance. But I didn't win, so anyway, thank you.
Mr. Midget?
Yes, that is a very excellent question. If it was me, I would go around to the school, and have all the people that are 18 that are eligible to vote come down to the meeting. Just make it kind of like a homework assignment or something, and they, bring their parents. Just that's where I would start. There was one kid that was started a school Republican Party in his school, Jordan Hennessy. He went on to become the youngest, member at large for the Republican Party, and he had to really fight the school to start his little group. So he did it. So there are kids out there that are interested in getting involved. Just try to include more young people.
Thank you. Ms. Boswell?
Kildare Hills has done such a great job of keeping our citizens informed. Like Sheila said, she's putting it on YouTube. They're putting it on the website. They have a billboard outside of here announcing the dates of the meetings and inviting, and I've even seen the newspaper as well as announcing. As into getting them here, I'm all in favor of the door prize. That would be awesome. But I do encourage that you do contact the schools. You'd be amazed at the children in the high school. They are wonderful, wonderful people, and they love to get involved. They have very select committees there and clubs that really want to reach out to the public. And they encourage that you do community service in your senior year. So that would be a nice way to start.
And Mr. Appleman?
I think that's a tough one. The information is certainly available for anyone that is interested. If you have email or social media access to the internet, then you're well aware that the town has an agenda and a calendar of events, and the information is all there. The website's well organized with meeting minutes and upcoming information. I think the trick then is how do you actively engage them? And they're certainly engaged on some of the local websites. It'd be nice if we could get some of those same folks actually to a meeting so that they would be a little better informed, I think. If you have more public comment, I think we'd end up with the same folks coming to the public comment, and we wouldn't necessarily gain anything. I like the idea of engaging the schools. I know that's happened in the past where they've been given special projects and they've come and with interim proposals and then with their final presentations. I think that's a great way because in a lot of those cases the parents did come with them to watch their kids present if nothing else. Beyond that, if we could highlight specific areas or something, it might tie back to the community appearance board where you're picking a neighborhood or a street or something like that, and maybe highlight some of those folks and be able to get them involved. And if they know they're being highlighted, maybe they'll actually attend. So.
Thank you. Our next question is from Stephen Smith. And I would like to say that we're down to our final 3 questions, so if anyone has a question, now would be the time to raise your hand. This is for all.
Yeah, it can be for all. My name is Stephen Smith, been a resident of Kildare Hills for 10 years, and I got a pretty simple question. After the recent county reevaluation where our home values and property values decreased, but our taxes increased because of the county's revenue neutral stance, a simple question, and you've touched on it earlier, are you going to raise taxes, yes or no, if elected, for whatever reason?
Thank you. I will remind you that his question called for a yes or no answer, but you do have 2 minutes, so you may use them. Let's start with Mr. Appleman.
I guess I'll start with that dreaded word of yes. I think it would be great if we lived in an area, in an environment where tax increases were never necessary. If you just listen to the first sets of questions that came out in just this forum, all of them require additional funding that the town currently doesn't have. It's definitely a sore topic for a lot of folks. My property values went down and my tax bill went up as well. And so, I think if we can truly get the public involved and have their input heard, then we can then prioritize what projects we're really going to try to push forward, and then try to keep those tax increases to a minimum. I think if beach nourishment goes forward, that's definitely a tax increase. And if we try to do the sidewalks, I think it's inevitable that an additional tax increase would happen. Some great presentations have happened at some of the meetings where they've talked about some of these proposals on how much it will actually affect the average homeowner. And I think that level of information is key. And we definitely want as much public participation in that type of decision making as possible.
Thank you. Ms. Boswell?
As of this very moment, right now, I will have to vote no on a tax increase for the many reasons I stated earlier, which I don't mind restating. Our taxes increased, our electric increased, our utilities, our gas increased. We just cannot afford to raise taxes on a person who is struggling to make their daily bills. I work in the medical field, and if you had one clue of the horror that's going on at this time, I have patients that cannot afford medication. And if it's a choice between medication or taxes, you know they're going to pay their taxes. As of this time, I cannot advocate for a tax increase.
Thank you. Mr. Midget?
I cannot advocate for a tax increase either. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, my parents were talking about the dilemma facing the schools. They had to spend money. They were going to either buy cell phones for the buses or buy new buses or something of this sort. And I couldn't really understand why they just didn't save the money for next year, use it then. Then my parents explained that if they didn't spend it, then they would lose it the next year. So there's no incentive for them to save money. So that makes me think that maybe these other services in the town, maybe there's room for them to save, and they just don't want to do it because they're afraid to lose their funding the following year. So, I don't really see the point in raising taxes if, we're just going to waste it. I think we need to be very carefully plan out our budget.
Thank you. And Mayor Davies?
Great. Well, first, I just want to share, after having 2 years on the council, and then prior to that, really studying the budget of the town, our departments are incredibly fiscal conscientious, and they're not holding back. I can assure you, they're not holding back funds for a rainy day or because they're worried we would take them the next year. That being said, certainly no one's in favor, and I wouldn't use the term I would advocate for a tax increase. However, the realism is, if you want to make improvements in our town, the money doesn't grow on trees. And so how do you fund these things? It's typically, you can get some grant funds, but they're never enough, especially when you're looking at the scale of the projects that we're looking at. So, when it comes around to making the decision, if what we need to do in our town requires a tax increase, my vote would be yes, if that's what we have to do to fund these things. That being said, I understand that people can't afford, and it's really hard economic times. We haven't rebounded the way that we would like, and hopefully things will continue to improve. But my position when it comes to beach nourishment is we cannot afford not to do something. A lot of the people that are here that are struggling are in our service industry, and if we lose our beach, these people will lose their jobs. So not only will they still have trouble paying their bills, they're not even going to be able to have a job to live in this area, so they would have to relocate. So, I don't want Kildaville Hills to find itself in the same position that our neighbors in Kitty Hawk are in. They now have such a limited tax base because they've lost their infrastructure, or they've lost their tax base along the beach, that not only are they, if they get into beach nourishment, will they have to raise taxes, but there's potentially their citizens will have to pay more than we would be paying because, sorry, my time's up. But you get my point. Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Howard Kimball.
This is just for the commissioner candidates. what do you see as a good use for the bomb track? And for those who may not know, that's the 44 acres that the town owns back here.
Thank you. Okay, this is just for the commissioners. Mr. Midget?
I'm not aware of the bomb track. Perhaps we could leave it for nature, maybe. A little place for the deers and the other animals. But, there's a good idea. Let's hear what it is.
Ms. Boswell?
Well, we're going back to getting money and revenue in Kill Devil Hills. I think if possible, we could perhaps put a convention center there that would bring in people to our town, and of course they would use our resources and fund money for the town.
And Mr. Appleman?
I think the Bomb Track Committee has done a really good job of putting a proposal together for a low-impact use that would benefit the town. There's some things that are in that proposal that I would love to have. One is a dog park. One is being able to have frisbee golf, an outdoor venue for music. Again, the challenge would be, where do you develop those funds to create something like that? Our beach, too many folks think that our beaches and our beach towns are becoming overdeveloped. And if you keep the bomb track as a low impact use area, but still it provides benefit to the town and to the townspeople and even to the surrounding areas, I think that's something that we could all be happy with.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Sherry Rollison.
Okay, this is to the commissioners there, elect. Are you able to look at issues objectively and base your discussions on facts and not emotions?
Thank you. Ms. Boswell, would you like to go first?
Sure. I absolutely am able to do that. Fortunately, with being on the street improvement team and being on the planning board and on the historical landmark, it has given me a lot of experience. You have to take yourself out of the equation, like you said, Ms. Rollison, and look at the facts and base it on the facts, our amendments, our zoning, and that's the only way you can vote.
Mr. Midget?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Are you able to look at issues objectively and base decisions on facts and not emotions?
Yes, I can do that. I can also admit when I'm wrong and made mistakes, but thanks to Google and the internet, I'm not likely to make too many, hopefully.
And Mr. Appleman?
All right. Comic relief. I think one of the most important things for elected officials to remember is that we're the voice of the town once we're in an office. I think if we can remember that, it prevents us from having some of that emotion come forward, which sometimes might be difficult to do depending on the issue. We've certainly had some issues come up in the surrounding towns and in our own town that would probably, if you were looking at it at a personal level, it would probably make you want to go off. But I think if you can take a step back and you can look at the facts and you can listen to what folks are telling you. And my time at IBM, I dealt with a lot of problems that were not pleasant ones. A lot of them had to do with budgets. A lot of them had to do with different geographies. And to be able to take in all of those viewpoints and weigh all of them and then make the best decision and the one that was to be the most successful, that's something that I have a lot of experience with. and I'm certainly not afraid to give it a try now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be from Margaret Clark.
Hello, my name is Margaret Clark, and I've lived in Kill Devil Hills since the 1970s. And I'd like to know how each of the candidates feel about employee benefits and raises.
Thank you. And this is for all candidates. Mr. Appleman.
All right. I think the town and the town staff have done a fantastic job with the resources that they currently have. I believe in the current budget there's a cost of living increase that was made available to them. Like a lot of other issues that come up, it becomes a how do you pay for it? We as a town, we certainly want to have retention of skill, and we want to reward good performance, and it's something that would then potentially be a trade-off in another area. I think we're all seeing costs go up, whether it's through our benefits or our taxes or just our overall cost of living, and at least to be able to start with that current cost of living increases is a way to start that. But I certainly believe in retaining skill that's very difficult to replace in the marketplace. I had to deal with that at IBM, where we had a fixed budget sometimes, and we'd lose folks because we were not able to reward them, and we were not able to increase their pay or change their benefit levels. I think that's certainly something that I'm open to. It just depends on what the climate is at the time, and what the trade-offs might be in order to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Boswell?
I too would like to see the employees of Kill Devil Hills continue to get merit raises, cost of living raises. I think it should be one of our most important issues because they take care of us. We need to take care of them. Loyalty is earned, and we get good service, and I've certainly had good service, and I would like to continue to keep our people on board.
And Mr. Midget?
I think that they should be rewarded, but you can't give out rewards every day. So, we just have to, it's going to be time and place when we can do it, and only when we can do it. We should never bite off more than we can chew. So.
And Mayor Davies?
Sure. Margaret, this is a question probably all the staff were hoping you would ask tonight. So, the town of Kill Devil Hills is really blessed with a phenomenal staff team. Last night was a prime example for those of you who were able to attend the ice cream social. That was completely put on by the staff and the auxiliary fire department members. And from serving ice cream to cooking hamburgers to checking people in, it was just a great environment. And we have staff that don't just come to do their job. They care about our town, and they care about our citizens and our guests. You guys have sacrificed for several years not being able to get COLAs, just like families across the town and across the county have sacrificed. I'm glad we were able to do the COLA this past year. Do I think you're worth more? Without a doubt, you're worth more. And I certainly hope as we look at this next budget cycle that we can continue to try to re-implement some of the benefits that had been taken back during the cutbacks. I do know just this past year, too, through employee advocacy, we were able to put back the wellness program that had also been taken away with previous budget cuts. I think it's important that we listen to you all and you bring us ideas, us and also, certainly Debbie and Sean. I don't know that you'll ever get paid exactly what you're worth, but I certainly would hope that by working together and coming up with some creative solutions, if it can't just be money, what are the other benefit options that are out there that we can help support? So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next to the last question, unless we have more questions, is from Jack McCombs. And then our final question will come from Sherry Rollison.
I wrote this question down after I listened to many of your responses about new taxes. Not all taxes are raised for new projects. Sometimes taxes are raised to support current services. What I would like to know from each of you, what specific current services would you terminate or reduce because you failed to pass a tax increase? So I'm talking about services that you currently provide.
Mr. Midget, let's start with you.
Well, I would like to see a comprehensive list of those services so I could find out maybe which ones are redundant and cut the most non-essential service. You know, don't want to cut anything that's a lifeline for someone, but you know, there could be something that we don't actually need on a regular basis.
Ms. Boswell?
I'm not capable of giving you a list of what services I would cut. I do like the way that the town had lessened our garbage pickup, and that saved us a lot of money. I think it would be a group effort to pick and choose what we would eliminate, if we would eliminated anything, or what we would cut back on. We can't cut back on our safety, and we can't cut back on our other management, so I'm not sure. I would definitely have to see a printout as well, unfortunately.
And Mr. Appleman?
I think the challenge that every municipality faces is whether you can maintain your current level of services without a tax increase. Or, you know, which services you would actually reduce if you don't get a tax increase. Not necessarily a direct answer to your question on which one I would eliminate, but I know that some of the candidate questionnaires and things that we filled out, one of the questions in another questionnaire was, are there services that could potentially be merged with other towns so that each town is not necessarily funding and trying to maintain a private version of that? It could be trash, it could be anything. And if I'm elected, that would definitely be something that I would consider. I would much rather see a sharing of services versus an elimination of services.
Thank you. And Mayor Davies?
I'm not at the juncture to think we need to eliminate any of our services. That being said, I will always keep an open mind if there's a proposal that comes forward where, you know, maybe it is consolidating services, or just as in 2 years ago when we made a change for legal representation, which saved tens of thousands of dollars annually. You know, I will always be open to those suggestions. So I'm not certainly against change or changing things, but it's not going to be at the cost of compromising services.
Thank you. And our final question?
I think my question was pretty much what Jack had. I mean, that's what
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. You were on the same wavelength.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Can I add something?
I'm sorry. No.
Okay.
We're ready to begin our closing statements because we've run out of questions. We're going to go in the reverse order of what we were before. So Mayor Davies will start and will be followed by Michael Midget, and then Beverly Boswell, and then Travis Appleman will finish. So I believe you're limited to 2 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Again, thank you, League of Women Voters members, for hosting this forum. Thank you, John and Margaret. I was going to say the town, but John and Margaret for being here filming for us tonight. The audience for your questions and your participation. I also want to thank Travis, Beverly, and Michael for you all for your participation and for being candidates for Kill Devil Hills Commissioners. Even though I'm running unopposed, I take my candidacy for mayor very seriously. I do not take for granted that I'm an elected official, and while I know I cannot always make everyone happy, I can promise to make decisions that are in the best interest of our town, including those decisions on fiscal management. I am a dedicated community servant who will continue to lead our town in a manner consistent with the American Society for Public Administration Code of Ethics, which calls for recognizing and supporting the public's right to know the public's business, involving citizens in decision-making, assisting citizens in their dealings with government, maintaining truthfulness and honesty, and zealously guarding against conflict of interest or its appearance. Thank you for putting your trust in me and allowing me to serve as your mayor. I would appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Midget?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and your questions. And, I'd like to, say I'm glad to get to know the other candidates. And even if I don't win, I think we're going to be okay because these guys are good and I recognize their qualities as well as mine. That's all.
Ms. Boswell?
I'm very excited about the prospect of serving Kill Devil Hills in the capacity of commissioner. Once again, I want to reiterate that I've already been serving with the special projects and with the planning board that I'm currently on and the historical landmark. It's a wonderful town. It's grown. It has good people and citizens. I'm very concerned about maintaining what we have and keeping it beautiful and safe for everybody. And I, too, keep an open mind, and I hope to get your vote on November.
And Mr. Appleman?
And so again, thank you all for coming out and for all the questions. And to the League of Women Voters for organizing this. It's great to have this opportunity. If elected commissioner, I will ensure fiscal responsibility. I have 17 years of experience of actively managing budgets within IBM and 5 years of experience of managing our small business. The goal will be to actively manage our expenses and revenues while maintaining a balanced budget for our town and preserving our current level of services. I'll focus on economic growth. I would like to actively work with our community, the citizens, the town staff, and our business owners on ways to grow our local economy. I support responsible growth within our town and the benefits that it will give back. Successful businesses in our area will be able to provide additional employment opportunities, increase sales tax revenues, as well as provide fun and entertaining venues for locals and our tourism industry. And finally, I'd like to maintain an open line of communication. I will be available to hear your concerns and issues from our citizens. I want to be your voice on the Board of Commissioners. Thank you, and please vote for Travis Appleman on November 5th.
Thank you. This concludes the Kill Devil Hills Candidates Forum. We wish to thank the candidates for their participation, the voters for your attendance, for the great questions, and to the town of Kill Devil Hills for the use of the meeting room. We encourage you to join the League of Women Voters as we strive to make democracy work. Some of our upcoming programs, and they will be open to the public as well and not just for members. We're going to have a program on the state of education in North Carolina with State Superintendent of Instruction June Atkinson, a program on capturing the ocean's power, and a panel on women's history. We do have some membership forms here, and we would invite you to take some. I have an announcement to make about the videotaping for this evening. The event is going to be broadcast at the following dates and times on the government channel, that's cable channel 20. That will be Tuesday, October the 8th at 7 p.m. and again Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m. just in time for early voting. Let's see. Yes, remember, early voting begins Thursday, October 17th, and it will run through Saturday, November the 2nd. The times and location are available back on our information table. Remember, your vote does count. The candidates, I believe, are going to stick around for a little while if you have personal questions you want to just chat with them. So this concludes our evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.